I'll call the special call meeting of the Westmoreland City Council to order. It's Thursday, March the 11th at 6 p.m. And the items on the agenda to discuss tonight are animal control for police officers, codes, and building inspections. So I've left the agenda kind of broad so that if we want to have a vote, you can. The reason I called this information session together, and I called it as a special call meeting, so if you wish, you can vote. However, we need to get some clarification on what council wants to do and how they want to move forward with animal control for police department and codes and inspections and permitting. With that said, as we prepare the budget, we need to have some concrete information as to how to do that. You want full-time people? Do you want part-time people? Do you want to do other things? So I'm going to turn it over to Chief Jolly. Several of these things kind of hit on his area, and we'll just kind of have a good discussion on all of it and try to come to some kind of consensus so we can move forward, because with this much uncertainty, we cannot really work up an accurate budget. And we have some other information about our officers or the jobs that we have open that people have applied for employment. So, Chief, and you just be casual as you want to be with the captain and sergeant also. And because I was looking for Mr. Dallas to be here tonight too. He's somewhat what I'm considering our animal control expert that was going to be advising us. But I understand he had another class that he had to get to, he couldn't make it. So we'll do our best.
Okay, so in regard to the animal control officer, there are some options. We discussed briefly at the work session that for the last few months, we've pretty much been handling the calls to the best of our ability with the equipment we have, depending on just whichever officer is on duty when the call comes in. In fact, Sergeant Reed had to deal with one, was it that same mule a couple of days ago? Yes, sir. So what we do, I think and I think Wilkerson, you mentioned it with summer, as it starts warming up, we're going to get more. So the average that we saw that Officer Bellavia put together for us was over pretty much the winter months of COVID. So I think those calls are going to pick up. With that said, though, obviously we have at least two officers working at all times. And for the most part, they can handle most calls that this city gets for animal control. But we got into a little bit at the work session that at some point, whether we have an animal control officer or every officer that works is doing that on their shift, we'll have to get some kennels and some things to be able to transport. According to Deputy Chief, Aaron Pickard, I talked to him because apparently Amanda had said she was having trouble getting a supervisor, get someone to get access. He tells me that there should be someone on call at all times, and we should be able to reach someone to get them to take over whatever animal we get here to house them county town or whatever they call it. So that's the options we're looking at. What would be helpful for us as a police department, we need to know which way you all would like to go. We have 5 candidates that did apply the way we put the posting out. All 5 of them had said they would be willing. Of course, they applied with the knowledge of knowing they were applying for animal control / police officer. So any one of them would do that job. I don't know what the retention would be. Can't say for sure. There's obviously a possibility that if you get one in doing that, and they're just wanting to get into law enforcement, if they get an opportunity where they can work somewhere where they're not doing animal control, they may. I don't know. So that's a couple of things that we kind of want to get some guidance from you all as the council as to what for sure you would prefer to see happen? Do you want to have a particular officer for any particular reason that's going to be strictly assigned to do the animal control, or allow the whatever officers are working to handle it? Because even if we get a day shift, primarily day shift animal control officer in the middle of the night, an officer is still going to end up having to do some animal control. So that's one thing to talk about. I'm gonna let Captain Amalfitano tell you about the training part of it, because one of the biggest concerns I think that you all had, and it was my understanding too, that if we hired a single individual, or even if it was an officer, they had to go to Missouri and they had to get this 2-week training. Of course, you have to pay for a hotel, room and board, travel expenses, all that, and the training is pretty expensive. But we do have an alternative, and Captain Amalfitano has talked to him in detail. It would be substantially less expensive. He would be willing to train all the officers if we needed to do it, or if we go with one, he'd be able to train the one. Any questions you might have about training, he can talk to the answer better.
So Tom Dallas, I'm very familiar with him. I've known him for a long time, worked with him. Tom is an elected constable in Macon County, but he is the animal control officer for the city. It's always been a part-time position in the city. So when I spoke with him, we talked pretty extensively on the phone. We stayed on the phone for quite some time, a couple hours, and I spoke to him again. He said that he would love to come, love to talk. He couldn't make it tonight. Sends his apologies. So some of my questions for him was, what type of certification? And I explained to him our situation. I explained to him what we have and how we have, we might have a lot of dogs. We might not have so many dogs. I explained to him the situation. He stated to me, and he's pretty much an expert in it. He's got a lot of training in it. Does training in it. He also certifies. He said there is no state mandate in the state of Tennessee for certification for an animal control officer. However, he said the more certification, the more training that you have, the less liability that you have. And then we went into the liability of dogs. And there were some things that I didn't realize. He explained to me. For instance, if we see a dog, and I'm just going to say we see a dog on Keisha's property, and I can't just walk up on her property, check that dog out. I have to have a search warrant. That was something that I was unaware of, did not know. He explained to me about a lawsuit that they was involved with the amount of training that he has had. It came out good. So I explained to him that we're not going to be doing, we're not going to be doing euthanization. We're not going to be housing because we don't have the facility here. Now, if you had a facility where you're going to be housing the dogs and you're going to be doing euthanization, it's definitely training. So I explained to him that we're going to be picking it up, taking and transferring the dog down to the Sumner County Animal Control Center, and that they will take care of it. Oh, what he says, what his recommendation was that he can come down. And it's good probably for all the officers to have a little bit of training into it, because there's a lot of things that I don't know that's completely different from just doing regular criminal law. He can come down, he can train by PowerPoint and hands-on an officer and pick up, search and seizure, paperwork, how to do reports. Very important doing reports. Record keeping, management, and he will also drive around with that officer, explain to him, okay, there's one. What are you going to do? There's one. This is what you do. He can do that. He can do transport, picking up the dog, and you just can't throw a dog in the backseat of a car and transport him down there. You just can't do it. Go over the equipment. You can go over do a 16-hour class, hands-on class, be certified. He also said it'd probably be good if you're going to do one animal patrol, who's going to be over that animal patrol officer? Whoever's going to be over that animal patrol officer needs to sit in on that class. And the other thing he says is go ahead and send him a copy of it. And I'm trying to look for a copy of our policy and procedures, I guess, the city ordinances on animal control. He would like to look at it, critique it, and send it on back and let us know what changes need to be made. But not when he's being there, what doesn't need to be in there. Probably something we could say once he critiques it, give it to our legal counsel. And let them look at it. And then he also explained, went into, every year that officer needs to go, that officer needs to have continuing education. And that could be in anything that the department makes. It could be on updates, it could be on transporting, it could be on whatever. They have 16 hours of continuing education. So he said he can do that for us. He would have to take off work. He would have to come down here and spend some time here, PowerPoint teaching, not cost of about $500 for him to do it. He's local, and he would be available for that officer in the event that something happened. Hey, no, I ran into this situation. But now that's for dogs and cats. Now, if you want to deal with horses and mules and donkeys and skunks and all that, snakes and all that stuff, that definitely he said you want to transport. You want them to go to certification of school in Missouri. And there's different classes that you can take, and I even was pulled one up. And his fee was about $500. And this is the NACAT training. Just a basic class. There's several classes that you can take. For one, it's $100 to go on. It's a $397 ACO1 course, basic course. And then if you want to advance any further to advance like a level 2, level 3, level 4, it's more money. The certification is good for, I think it said 1 year, and then you have to do it every year. So that's the online course. I'm not too awful big about the online courses and something like that. I have a hands-on training, show me what I'm doing. So that's what he said that he can do for us. He can put together an animal control kit for us and get us started. I told him, and this is my opinion, I'm working out here on patrol, a former chief, working out here now. They, in my opinion, maybe, how many days?
It's just shy of one every 3 days.
One every 3 days. Part-time is all that you need for an animal control officer. And with that, they've done it for years. That's a bigger city. Now they house dogs over there, so he comes in every day and checks on them, cleans them, waters them, feeds them. We're not going to have a facility to house dogs. We're not going to be doing on utilization. So come in on whatever days, whatever time, check your complaints, go answer your complaints, look around for your dogs, try to capture anything that's around, try to do what you're going to do. You transport them, get them adopted out, find the owner, whatever. That's
I'll add a little bit of something to that too. I'm sure he's seen this before too. I've seen a lot of small town police departments, and we had one the other day where Sergeant Whitty had right on it. You will occasionally have cows get out, you'll have a horse get out, or mule get out. Pretty much all the police do at that point anyway. You try to keep them from getting on the road, try to keep them in one area, and we try to contact the owner. Almost always the owners are contacted, they come out and take the horses. I don't probably never see a situation where animal control has to come get a large animal like that. It doesn't happen easily.
no. And basically the only thing that we can do really on patrol right now, unless it's a little wildlife or something like that, the only thing we can do is try to see if that dog, where the owner's at, is the dog loose. Try to find the owner. Hey, this is your warning. It's a leash mark. Get your dog, pick it up, do whatever you're gonna do with it. Second time, usually we get a citation. If we can't find, can't get the pit bull, put it in the back seat, take a big risk of the officer getting hit. I love dogs. I like them. I've got a dog, but they don't like me. They just don't like, no. No, I don't want to risk getting tore up. And I'm missing a couple of days of work. And then we can't put them in the back seat. We got no proper way of transporting them because if we make a turn, get switched around, all our comes back. What happened to my dog? You didn't probably transport it. Now he's got head injuries or a foot. So that's about the only thing we can do. When it comes to snakes, I ain't going. That's about all we really can do right now.
Now, and as far as us doing transport down to the county, we need to come up with a vehicle that has permanent structured bed and kennels on the back. Because if I'm understanding it right, what we did before is not acceptable.
Because like the incident, when he was talking about, if you've got a dog, he's knocked around the back seat. That's guilty of animal. So I think if you had 2 or 3 different size kennels, you could secure them into a vehicle, whether it be an SUV or a truck or something like that. If you had to purchase one of the utility beds, it's got the bins and all that.
There's a situation that high price dog, and the owner of the house, his dog escaped from the house, and he picked the dog up, and put the dog in the truck, in the kennel thing, the dog escaped. So they had to go around looking around for it, for the owner of the dog.
Control, it's all on you.
I got a question. With the training that if we pay $500 for this training, will that cover us if we have an animal abuse case and we have to go through the court system?
And it's like he said, there's no state mandate on any type of certification. So when you go to court, just like any police officer, the more training that you have, because that's the first thing when you get sued is when something happens, they want to look at the training. And the more training that you have, the less they can argue.
Probably help us, I would assume, tweak whatever policy we currently have in place. Say that as long as we've got a good policy, whichever officer is handling it, and going by the policy, other police. On my policy, got the training, they go by the policy. That needs to be done. Soon as we're gonna get into this.
What's the quickest he can get to us if we go that route?
He's waiting for a decision and he's we'll set a time, and then he'll come here and he wants to look at our policies first.
Where did you want to say something?
Comes a point in time sometimes when we can't make arrangements to get down animal control, we're gonna have to house that animal. Have to have some kennel. That's, you gotta put it somewhere. But on a weekend and holidays or something like that, we can't get a hold of them. And it's happened in the past, even though they're supposed to be available 24/7. Sometimes we can call them up, well, you can't do it till tomorrow morning. What do you want us to do with the dog? I can't leave it in the car. So now you have to put kennels or something.
And then with that being said, once you do that, then that opens up a whole.
We got food, water, shelter.
Temperature control, all that. And another thing that brings up too is if you have the officer doing it its own duty, then you've got one officer that's out of the city, maybe for an extended period of time, wait until that supervisor comes to take control of the animal. So that's just something else that makes it short-handed. I personally think the ideal thing, if the city could do it, I know it's a little more expensive, is if you had a separate part-time animal control person. Yes, but all that.
Again, I'm sorry. And one thing he said to bring up too, that, okay, if this is the only way that so-and-so can get his foot in the door, we really don't want to do this here, but it's the ways it ain't gonna be worth nothing in it. You're gonna have somebody who's passionate about animals, the care, the safety of the animals, and he is. He said, I adopt more dogs than I do anything. He said, if you look at my records are great. I've had people come up and say, hey, we want to see your records. How many dogs have you euthanized? I've not euthanized none in a long time. You know, so only in those rare cases where somebody has been dead or the dog is just really in bad shape. But he said, other than that, he said, I've got different locations, different people, and I can adopt them out.
I'll take some of those.
They have a pound.
Mhm.
They do. They do. They have a pound. It's right near the shooting range. Memory serves me correct. It holds 6 on one side and 6 on the other side.
Big concrete
It's
buildings.
a big concrete building. So he goes there every day, cleans it up, waters it down, make sure the temperature control is right in there, make sure that they're safe and that they're not injured. They can actually go outside into a little fenced area. I will say, years ago, when I was there, there was some not questionable, but the person that was doing it did not really want to do it. So there was a lot of cleanup that needed to be done. In return, a lot of unnecessary, what would you say?
Central Florida.
We had to do a lot of cleanup.
So either way we go though, whether we use just officers or we get a part-time person, we're still gonna have to think about where we're gonna put them if we can. Either way, we've got to address that piece. Am I correct?
You are. Because just like I said, we have run into that. I'm going on what the chief deputy told me. He assures me that someone, and I will try to hold them to that. But, you know, there could be an occasion where whoever is supposed to do that is sick or, you know, we could run into that.
Being a county commissioner, we have a dog pound in Macon County. Funded and the whole bit, we got 2 people to run it. The upkeep just of the maintenance itself of the kennels is expensive. They gotta have it cleaned up properly where when it all drains out, it actually goes to the sewer system, the whole thing, because you gotta get rid of waste properly. And just put it in a bag and throw it out. I mean, you gotta make sure you got somebody gonna come in and clean the kennels every day. You gotta feed them water the animals at least twice a day. You got proper heating, proper cooling, and that's all part of it. I mean, even if you're only housing for a day or so, but if it's 90 degrees outside or below zero, you're responsible for that animal. And that's a huge undertaking, just so you're aware of it.
And correct me if I'm right, you have to check it every so often. Parvo.
Oh, yeah. We're hooked up with a vet over there because we house them. So we're hooked up with the Macon County vet and the whole vet and some shooter. We try to get rid of them all without euthanizing as well. But granted, we're not gonna house them for long periods of time here, but if you have to house them overnight or so, depending on the weather, you gotta have proper setting for it. It's a big undertaking, you don't understand that. The county, I know, we spent a lot of money on it.
Well, Chief, what is your recommendation? What would you like to see from the council? What is your recommendation?
I had a gentleman just call me. He's not available on Fridays and Saturdays because he's making a living, but he's been in Westmoreland for about 20 years. And he said he has rescued just a multitude of dogs, and he mostly talked about dogs. He didn't say much about cats or anything else. But he's definitely an animal lover, and he said that he would be willing to step up to help to rescue these animals. I don't know what kind of facility that he has on his own, if that's something that is even feasible for us to discuss at this point. But he said that he would be willing to help out a couple of days a week. Mainly because he loves animals. It's not for the job or anything else. And of course, the first words out of his mouth was he would need a truck and the proper equipment. So,
Well, and that's something too. It's a possibility someone like him. It could be a thing like every time we call him out, he says, okay, every time you call me to pick up an animal, it's going to be $50. I mean, I don't know what the going rate would be, but that would be something to consider as well. Maybe work a couple days a week, and then I don't know. someone like that would be great because they love animals and they're gonna do the right thing, take care of them. We know they'll be treated right, and I think that would be a
He said he'd been doing it for 20 years for free. If he could get a little compensation, it'd be great. We've got we've got the legality side of it to worry about.
Right.
and
The
liability.
liability is what I'm thinking
So, yeah, as you mentioned before, I believe, and the mayor mentioned before, we can enforce things like the leash law and all that, and as a police department, we can do even the things that have to do with the codes and all that. But we just don't really have the equipment. And then if you take an officer out for hours dealing with that, I think we're missing out on priorities. You got a trained officer dealing with this. If something goes where you need police work, I think it'd be better, honestly, to have, even if it's part-time or something like that, to have a dedicated animal control person.
So you want one person dedicated, and then you want all your officers trained.
We could do that, but we wouldn't necessarily have to, but it might not be a bad idea. That's a good point too. So that if the one person that's doing animal control is not available, officers can have some training in it. I think that would be a reason.
Let's go ahead and bring this in now. We're talking about the position that we have open. It is listed as that, and what the candidates that we have and where we stand with that. We pull that job separate. So, let's kind of talk about that for a minute and possibility open.
If we posted a job just to replace Officer John Davis, and because the city, I mean, we've got, the pay is up now, you all gave the police officers a raise. We put it in there and put what the hourly rate is, that it's a certified police officer only. I think we might get more applicants. I think, as I suspected, when I put that out there, I thought that might be the case. When we put that animal control / police officer, the only people we got that showed interest were those that worked here before and they wanted to become police officers again, or they're really more interested in the police side of it. But like I would have done when I first got into it, I'd have done, if that's what it took for me to become a police officer, I'd have done animal control as well. I think if we open up to just police, we're gonna have a better pool. Not that the ones we have are bad, but I think we'll have more, maybe it's more, even more highly experienced and competent and qualified.
You want to throw some in here about,
Well, the only thing I'm gonna
you
talk
do
about
the
is
schedule for all this
the
stuff.
schedule.
And we can put them in midnight slots.
I schedule all the officers for their hours, and it is a night. I'm constantly changing the month schedule probably 4 or 5 times throughout the month. If somebody gets sick, I gotta cover somebody. Somebody goes on vacation, I gotta cover them. Any type of reason they're out, I gotta make coverage, and I'm trying to do it all without overtime, so I'm adjusting everybody's hours, everybody's schedules. And it's taking its tax on a lot of people, let me tell you, it's hard to do it. Officer Mancino, as you know, had the heart attack, he was out for a while, I had to do all that coverage. I got officers going to school, I had people are taking off on vacation, because their kids get spring break. I had to try to make all those arrangements, and I would gladly like to sit you down and show you the schedule if you want. If you can come up with a better idea, I'll take it. But I'll tell you, I change that schedule almost on a weekly basis. Yeah, I just got done doing April's, and I guarantee you, before we get to April, I'll change that 4 times.
We don't want a military, so we out on military.
Yeah, I got another guy going to military for a whole month. And we're shorthanded to start off with. Now, the part-timers are stepping up, but I can't get them during the week. That's the problem, is they got regular jobs. So it's very difficult. And I'm gonna be bold to put it right out there. If I had 2 more officers, I can do a lot better schedule to really cut down a lot more overtime. But as of right now, your overtime is gonna go through the roof again. It's simple as that. I mean, I'm gonna put it honestly. And I'm doing my best not to create it. We had an officer that had to call in sick the other night, so I called another officer from today and let him work last night's shift to give him today's off to avoid overtime. It's causing us to stay over.
And I stayed over to cover where he would have worked today, so I'm on salary, so that cut us out on.
Kind of to add on what he's saying, and that's always the part-time or wonderful. But if you got a part-time officer scheduled to come in at 6 o'clock, and they call you at 4:45, hey, my job is open, I gotta go in.
Or we're gonna stay late.
Now you're stuck, and that happens quite often.
Now I gotta get somebody to cover that.
And crime is on the rise. We're constantly accidents, domestics are tremendous. The cases that I'm working, I can bring over here and fill this your whole table up. Trying to prioritize as much as I can. Chief is trying to help me out, trying to help him out. He's trying to help me out. We're trying to help each other out. Westmoreland is too big to be too small, small to be too big. We're surrounded by jurisdiction. I'm gonna have to agree with Sarge over there and say, Berry Hill's probably
Point something else.
some miles. They have 12 certified officers. If we had that, you would not have a problem. You'd never hear from the police.
I can set up a schedule and do 3 shifts and overlapping, and we don't have to worry about somebody going on vacation or calling in sick.
No one's asking for a lot, but
I'm right honest with you, go on in.
That gives you an idea what we're gonna kind of be asking for under the new budget. We're gonna try to see what, about trying to get a little more help.
So we
We did-
currently have how many police officers spots?
8 including myself. We have 8 full-time certified police officers.
One
So,
short on it. as a
One
budget.
short at when John Davis left.
There's 9 positions, 8 officers.
Even if you replace him right now, you still have the same problem with vacations and sick time and things of that nature.
I understand that. I knew, I had heard different numbers. I wanted to make sure I was thinking right.
But under the old budget, they only budget for 9. That's including the chief.
That's
Am I correct?
That's-
Depending on how you want to. Let me say, whatever your thoughts are on this situation is going to affect, some of the people that have applied. Am I right to think that there's one that really doesn't want to be a full-time officer? He's interested in codes and possible animal control, but there's others that's not really interested in animal control.
That's correct.
You have a mix either way. I was in on all the interviews. We do have a good variety of qualified people, but if you want to open the door to have more people that are interested in being just a police officer, which is that it makes a lot of sense. People that want to serve as a police officer don't really get into the profession to be an animal control person. So we just got some tough decisions to make, and I'll go ahead and kind of touch some on the codes and permitting and inspections official. I know we discussed going ahead and offering or advertising for a part-time person there. Is that still what we want to do, or do you want to go for a full-time person and divvy up different duties for that? One of the candidates that were interviewed has just an absolute wealth of knowledge. Police officer, he's an instructor at a lot of the different areas. We don't know if all of his training that he has now is acceptable in the state of Tennessee. He may have to go for a transition school. But with COVID, transition school right now is done virtual, and you send them down 1 or 2 days for firearms training and defensive driving training. So they're all aware of our pay scales, and it's we need to know how to move forward, and I need the thoughts on it, and the chief and his crew can make all the recommendations, but it's up to you guys how you want to proceed with this.
I like the idea of getting all the officers training or certified or a certificate. That way, if necessary, they can answer a dog call. And I also like that I didn't catch the name, Mr. Mayor, of that one who wants to do it part-time. I didn't catch that name.
I didn't put it out
Okay.
because, I've just talked on the phone, Councilman Leaf, so, you know, I really didn't know what to even tell him at that time. I instructed him that, we were gonna be having a meeting and hopefully I would know more after this meeting as to what to tell him, but, there again, the first thing he said was that he would have to be furnished with a truck. If he done it 2 days a week, he would need a truck that was, suitable for, transportation and picking them up. I actually don't have any statistics on how many dogs, that we, pick up and impound, but, I know we have probably a lot of ours is more new than anything, and our police officers can probably answer at least 90% of those. There may be some we have to call some backup help on, but I think you're on the right track, David.
I like that idea because I can remember when I first went to work for the sheriff's office, and if I was going to be a deputy / animal control officer, I might have went a different direction, or might have been looking for another job. So it's not fair for that person to go through 12 weeks of police training academy and then come and be assigned as dog care or animal control. I don't think that's fair to him, even though he knows, that person knows going into it, that's why he's being hired, police officer / animal control. I just don't think it's fair to him. But I do think all the officers need to have that training so they can answer a barking dog call or something like that.
I totally agree.
How much is that training going to be again? I think I heard that, but I think it broke up a little bit.
500.
$500.
Per officer.
But the whole, no, it's all the officers together as a group.
Okay.
That amount left in our training budget.
So that'd be 500, whether we did all of them or whether we did the part-time, whichever way we go.
I believe if we train them all, train everybody in a bunch as best he could. And if it were a little more, I think we're okay under the training budget. We probably could cover that. So it wouldn't be additional costs outside the budget we currently have.
Or another idea is hire a codes inspector and give him three jobs: codes inspector, animal control, and maintenance.
We have folks that's interested for sure.
Gotta run that person to death doing all of that.
Last one left.
I know. That's what I'm asking.
I'm not mistaken, there were even other things.
Yeah.
I think you could-
There were other things with that. Yeah.
Now, the person that's wanting to do codes and animal and all of that, are they qualified or we're gonna have to put them through school and pay for it?
No, we'll probably have to put them through school. If anybody's qualified, that's my opinion, they're probably working somewhere if they've got that qualifications. But it might not be.
I'm pretty certain that we would have to pay for some schooling.
But that'll be either way.
And I think it's probably gonna be with anybody we
Yeah.
bring in, to be honest. We're not gonna bring in a certified person that can do permitting and inspections, without paying them a lot of money.
And that's just a chance we're gonna have to take once they get that training on them staying with us or going to a higher paying job. We at least got to get them under maybe a 1 year, 2 year contract.
And I talked to the guys down at the county the other day, or at least one of them, and he said things were going very well as far as they were concerned. So if you wanted to keep it the way it is, that's an option also.
Can we still enter into that contract as they was doing, that they proposed to us?
Oh, we can do that at any time.
And refresh my mind, was that about 70 or 80?
For a full-time person, it was 70, for them to do it on the other, then they would do it for the permitting fees. Now,
So Westmoreland,
if they'll still do
Right.
that now or not.
so that's 70 something thousand.
Well, I thought one of the contracts was just, they would do it for the fees. Is that right, Mr. Mayor?
That's correct. If they will still honor that. And I would say that they would.
There's an only inspections that are.
I like that idea there, them doing it and them getting the fees.
Are you talking about the county continuing, David? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes. Yes. And I think things are going well with the contractors too. I think, I think they're getting I don't hear none of the contractors complaining about it.
I have not heard of anything. Some of the problems that we have is more on the planning and zoning side of things. But I mean, Ms. Turner's doing an excellent job with that, and we're rewriting a lot of the regulations now for presentation to be voted on. So, but you're always going to have problems in that area, and you're also going to have a lot of times problems with the inspection area. So, but if things are going well, that's a good sign.
Would that mean Mr. Mills would have to continue doing our stuff here?
If
No.
we contract with them, they will take that part of it on also.
They take all
Somebody might say, well, the contractor or whoever's getting the permit will have to go to Gallatin. But, I don't think any of the contractors would mind doing that, because 9 times out of 10, they're going to be in Gallatin sometime or another during the week.
So how does that work with planning and zoning?
Kind
How are y'all kept in the loop on that?
of like we are now. We're,
Okay.
we pay GNRC for a consultant, but we have state planner, and Ms. Turner pretty much handles everything.
So she's
for
made
us.
aware of what's coming.
And so far, she
That's
has
correct.
worked
Okay.
very, very well with Mr. Mills. They have a good working relationship, and it's been very good for Westmoreland, and not only contractors, but vendors that are looking for a way to come into Westmoreland, and they get their questions answered and concerns.
But if we went with the county, we would lose Mr. Mills, right? Okay.
We wouldn't need Mr. Mills anymore. That's a big chunk of money we're paying him right now too.
I think he was also only looking at doing it temporarily anyway. Yeah. Something to do with his retirement. He can only work X amount of days. So.
Okay, so I will touch base back with the county and see if Ms. Lee down there can come up with a new contract that has all of it covered in it for us, and make sure they are still willing to do that. And I will present that at the work study. Guess that answers one of her questions.
curiosity, I don't know a lot about items and all that, but if there was money that the city would save, not paying Mr. Mills money for him for codes, animal control, whichever one it was, would that be a possibility to then free up some of that to be able to hire someone specifically just to do the ordinances and the animal control? I'm just.
I was gonna ask
We'll
that,
be,
is-
we'll be hitting that in the new budget, so we can. see how we want to. We were planning on doing that contract last year, so there was actually no money put in it because it was gonna go flow straight through and go to the county, not to the city. So, his line item is, minus several thousand.
Yeah, like $14,000.
Now, hiring somebody to do the codes, city code, maintenance codes, and animal control, he would have to be a certified officer to enforce the city codes, right? Be able to write tickets.
That would be best, no doubt. And we actually had a candidate apply that pretty much meets every one of those criteria. Honestly, in talking to him and interviewing him and listening to what he said, I believe I could get him straight into the code school down there and get him certified. Probably, if he could get into school, I think I could have him certified by next week.
How much money are we looking at?
I told him the ranges that we had before. But he's acceptable with it as taking a police officer's money.
So not,
At this, he might expect a little more later when he gets the papers. But you know, we paid Tim over 40,000 a year. And there again, want it to fall under the police department? Do you want it to fall under the fire department, or do you want it freestanding the way it was?
well, the way it's wrote now, it goes under the police department. If I read it correctly.
Well, and it just depends on what we do, because we haven't hired anybody at this point. We can change the job description any way we'd like to change that before we hire.
I think he needs to stay under the police department, have supervision under the police department. That's my opinion.
But the 40-something thousand that we had for Mr. Farley, has that not already been used?
It's been distributed out between animal control and different areas. So, like I said, that was changed in the budget last year. So when we do the new budget, you can make it anything you want it to be. The plus side of that, if you have another certified officer that was doing the permitting and inspections and maybe even animal control at this point, and anything else that you put on it, property maintenance, it's always a real plus to have a state certified police officer doing that in case of emergency. You can utilize them.
Okay, can we agree or disagree? Let's just start out, I reckon, agree or disagree about all the officers being trained for $500? Can we talk about? Well, this is my first time, so I don't know.
If you want to do that,
I'm just talking about it.
If you want to do that, I can okay that.
That's what I'm saying. I want to hear everybody's opinion on it. I'm okay with it. I think it's a good idea to train each officer.
I think it's an excellent idea.
I'm okay.
Do we need to make a motion and just vote on it?
Go for it, Doug, if you want to.
Sure. I'll make a motion that we spend I believe $500 from, I'm not sure what part of the budget that would come from, to train every officer to be certified in animal control. Is that correct?
That is correct. We have a motion by Councilman Brown, a second by Councilwoman
And
Head. to, spend the, $500 to have Mr. Dallas come in and, train our police department. Get us, started in that, realm where we have, certificates in hand as a start for animal control, or at least, for our officers to be better trained in this. Any other discussion?
Need to state where it's coming from?
Chief said he had it in his.
That's all I
training
want to make
book.
sure that was
So,
right.
Chief, you did say we had the $500 in your budget.
I see it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's there.
We're good.
I would like to just hear if that was part of the chief's one of his options that I know, because it was cutting in and out a little bit when he was talking. Is that susceptible to you, Chief?
Yes, sir. I appreciate you asking me about it. Yes, sir. I believe so, because even if we have an animal control officer, there will be times when an officer is working that might have to handle the situation. So I think it'd be good training. So I'm very good with that.
Good, good.
your turn, Ms. Keisha.
Lee,
Yes.
Smalling,
Yes.
Wilkerson,
Yes.
Head,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
But for record reflect that we have a unanimous vote on that, so we will be training our officers, and appreciate Captain Alfantano and Sergeant Whitty and Chief Jolly setting this up, because I think it'll be a good start for us. Okay, what do you want to tackle next?
Okay, I just want to be clear. You're gonna get with the county and see if we can still want to go with that option where they just take it over completely and get all the fees, right?
That's correct, and I'll report back at the work study.
Okay, good. I
I
would
want
like,
to ask. Okay, go ahead, David. Sorry.
reckon I would like now is city codes for maintenance and part-time animal control. Is that right?
Well, let me back up here just a minute. If you want to go with the officer for property maintenance and the other, would you not want to go ahead and try to get him certified as a inspector before trying to sign a contract for 5 years?
Well, I don't know here. If things are going good with the building inspections. Oh. I don't know.
Should we wait and hear what that county contract could possibly be, and then decide if we want to go with that and take that and put that in the package of someone another police officer who could also do codes enforcement?
Okay, when you say codes enforcement, you're meaning property maintenance enforcement? And
Yes, sir.
I'm talking permitting and inspections for like framing and footers and building. You know, we're actually talking two different codes of people here, but if we hire a person here, then he could take on both of those duties. Actually, all three duties.
Do you think we can find somebody willing to do all of it? Y'all think y'all might have somebody?
Yeah, but I think.
Chief, why don't you go ahead and make a recommendation or one of your officers, and if need be, I guess now would be the time. Now, he actually said he was okay doing animal control. I'll throw it out there. We'll see what happens.
We have a candidate who is a retired officer, 30 years at Metro Nashville Police Department. And he did just shy of 5 years as a training instructor at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Academy. So he's within the 10 years removed from being certified. He would have to go to a transition school to get his full police certification back. It is about $800. It would take 2 days and the rest of it is virtual. He's got extensive experience as well as a contractor. He spent 12 years as a contractor before he got into police work. He's always also worked in contracting and action work on the side the years he was a police officer. So someone like him would probably have no trouble at all being able to pass whatever test need to be passed to be able to get the state certification, to be a building inspector as well. I would say that my personal belief after speaking with him, and I believe anyone else that was in the interview, I don't believe that he's one that is going to get training and is going to take off. He's from this area. He lives in Carthage, and after retirement, he came back here, and he likes to stay busy. And so I think he would love the job, and I think he could do all three of them, and would be happy to do so for probably quite a bit less than $72,000.
You have a ballpark of an idea of money. You have an idea.
He would have to start out as an uncertified officer, which would be 1650, 1625, whatever that is. When he became certified, when he did his transition school, then at that time, then he would go to 17.
So he would be coming out of police, you're talking.
Yes.
Right.
So
So
he
he
would
would
do
go
all the other
1725 as a certified officer. I would expect, I would expect that he would probably like to make $19 or $20 an hour if he's got all this and he's doing all those. I know that where he's at now, he's a manager and he makes about $20 an hour.
Now, if this was to move forward, I would ask that the motion possibly be made that, this is what we have in mind. And if it, at the end of 1 year or 2 years, whatever you want to put on it, then if he did not obtain the certification, I don't know where you want to go with it. That he dismissed, but he's gonna be a great officer. He impressed me quite a bit. I think he'd be a good fit for Westmoreland, and I really wish now I'd invited him here tonight to meet him.
Let me ask you this. Have y'all are done with all the interviews that applied for that position, Chief?
We have,
So you're ready to hire somebody, right?
yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay, now I'm not going to recommend who you hire, but we leave that up to you. But after he's hired, then can we give him that the other title because it wasn't advertised that way? Can that be done like that?
Basically, if we did that, then he would be hired as a police officer. Right now, it would be police officer animal control. But what we would probably do is do a lateral move internally per our transfer policy and make this job available to him also.
Okay, that's
I
what
think we'd be perfectly legal and in our rights to do that.
that's you answered my question. Thank you.
And that's just by a simple, actually, at this point, that would be considered a promotion because there would be more money involved. So that would just take a council vote.
So we don't have to vote to hire this guy. I mean, Chief he's interviewed, y'all have done the interviews and Chief's ready to hire. So we don't have to make a motion on that, right?
Well, it would just be up to the chief, what recommendation he wants to make. And I would, and honestly, I'm not sure that he's ready to make a recommendation. I'll leave it totally up to him. But we can actually do that. And if the council so votes, then we would offer the position contingent, obviously, with everything, drug screen and, all the requirements for a police officer that we have would, be required.
I would recommend that he be hired as the animal control / police officer. He does know that starting out, the pay would be lower than what he would expect and would like to get. He would be okay with that. I believe at the point in time, once he becomes certified, obviously he'll get that 75 cents an hour raise there as a certified police officer after transition school. And then after he gets the additional title, then we can discuss, or you all can discuss as a council, if you want to do another 75 cents or $1 or something like that, to put him in line where he would like to be. And I think he's fine with that. He knows that the first few months that he's gonna make less money, but he has expectations of at least making about what he's making now, which is far less than what most inspectors are gonna charge the city. That's my recommendation.
And he would sign a contract with the city for how many years to work for us?
Sure, we can set that up however you all.
I don't know if we ever require a contract for something like that.
I
I'm
think
talking
what the
about a-
mayor,
I'm sorry.
I think what the mayor was saying probably is in the city's best interest to say, you know, we've hired you as this position. If you can't pass and become the inspector, then, you know, you can have to be a police officer, go back down and pay or whatever. However you all want to do that, I think that's fair. I don't think it'll be a problem, but obviously you want to make sure that you hire someone to do that, that they get the qualifications and the training and the certification to, you know, to do that job in the right way.
And in the meantime, what we would do is continue with the county in the same capacity that we are right now. And the county has assured me that they are willing to work with someone that we would bring in to help get them trained. So, I don't foresee any kind of problem with it at all.
Chief, are you gonna hire this person or are we gonna vote on it?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but until the policy is actually changed, it's my understanding that you all still have to
We
Okay.
still have,
vote. There's been talk about that policy changing at some point, but it has not yet. So
Okay, are you ready to make your recommendations tonight for this?
recommendation.
Just,
yes.
That was his
I
recommendation.
recommend-
Say yes to it if we want to do it.
I recommend that initially we hired this officer as a animal control / police officer as it was posted.
Okay, I think I know who you're talking about, but I haven't heard his name tonight.
I mentioned his name back in October. He's been interested for quite some time, and his name is Tracy Gatwood, Gatwood.
And that being said, I'll make the motion. You go ahead and hire Mr. Atwood,
Gatwood, yes, sir.
Atwood as police officer / animal control.
Is there a motion on the table?
Yes, that's my motion.
Do you
We
need,
have a motion, we do not have a second. The motion is to hire Tracy Gatwood as an officer. At this point, he would have to attend transition school and it's my understanding that is virtual at this time, but we would have to pay for that schooling. And I'm not sure exactly how they work that in right now, so it'd be like other officers that we've hired and sent to transition school in the past.
And that motion's being made at the recommendation of Chief Jolly.
I have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I will second it.
Thank you, Councilman Brown. Do we have any other discussion?
No, you go.
Okay, so how much is the transition school?
800.
It's just shy of 900, I believe. You know exactly.
Okay.
It's something,
So
$800 to $900.
in our schooling training line, 292, would that come out of there? Could it come out of there? Did I answer
That was my question. Where's the money?
Is the money there? Is that what I'm seeing correctly?
I don't have the most up to date.
yes, the money is there.
Okay,
Yes,
can it come out of there? This is my question.
it's transition school for a police officer, so I would say so.
Okay. Is that what you're gonna ask?
That's that question. I was worried about the money.
Two ninety-two.
Yeah.
They can come out, it's there. That's all I wanna make sure has money.
That's all I wanted to know.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Other discussion?
Yeah, could Keisha repeat the motion? There's a reason why. Just trust me for a second. Could she repeat the motion?
Okay, I have David Leith motion to hire Tracy Gatwood as a police officer and animal control as recommended by Chief Jolly.
Okay, my understanding is that we are still talking about having him possibly be certified as a codes enforcer later on. Is that correct?
Yes.
That is correct. We need to make that part of the motion.
Well, that's why I wanted the motion repeated. I would like to make an amendment to the motion to add, or either Mr. Leith could make that amendment to his own motion.
That would make it official.
Only thing I'm concerned with there is that the job was advertised as police officer / animal control.
Oh,
And then after he's hired, like the mayor said a while ago, we make a lateral move and be within the policy.
And we could, at that point, if you wanted to advertise that position, actually, I would probably open it internally and see if you had anyone else in the city that was interested in it. But I honestly, I don't think we have anyone that's qualified, but we can do this ever how you want to.
I will say I'm with Mr. Leaf. I think to be legal, I don't know that we can state that just in our motion.
Good point.
So just.
Yeah. I'm okay with that. I just wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page.
Well, we've all heard what's been said here tonight, so we can remind everybody after he's hired what we've talked about again.
Well, you definitely need a police officer, and he's willing to do that and accept the animal control position with it too. But hopefully, we're going to have all those bugs worked out in the meantime.
Yeah, it's definitely a job that we have been talking about for some time, and I'm ready to get past this part, and so we can move forward.
Ms. Keisha, call the roll, please.
Wilkerson,
Yes.
Head,
Yes.
Smalling,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Leith.
Yes.
Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. Chief, if you will give Mr. Gatwood a call.
I should have done one full
and
switch.
set up for
Yes, sir.
everything. Appreciate it. Okay, I guess that pretty much concludes everything that's on the agenda, and I will get the information and see you next week at our regularly scheduled meeting. Adjourned.
See you guys.
Bye.
Night.
Night.
All right.